When you look at a map of Europe, Poland stands out. Surrounded by countries with strong Orthodox traditions such as Russia, Ukraine, and Belarus, why is Poland overwhelmingly Catholic? As a proud Polish Catholic myself who is fascinated by Catholic and Eastern Orthodox history, I get asked this question a lot, and to be honest, I've never felt like I had a good answer until now. In this video, we're going to finally tackle the perennial question of why was Poland, despite being a Slavic nation, never Eastern Orthodox. But the story doesn't end there, because while Poland itself never became Orthodox, history took some wild turns, including the time when Russia actually had a Polish Tsar, and the moment Poland played a key role in one of the most controversial attempts to reunite Eastern Orthodox Christians with the Roman Catholic Church. But first, it's no secret that Poland is super Catholic, a mega-based country filled with absolute top-notch giga-chads. I mean, say what you want, but Poland literally crowned Jesus Christ as our official king and Mary as our official queen in a fully legal way. Basically, 100% of all infants are baptized. Crucifixes are commonly displayed in civic buildings, and debates occur when officials try to remove or ban them. As a result, we've had increasingly stable rates of vocations to the priesthood, and we have one of the highest rates of practicing Catholics in the whole world. But take a look around Poland. We've had a long history with our Slavic brothers.
That's not to say it's been easy.
The Ukrainians, the Russians, and the Belarusians. Most of them belong to the Eastern Orthodox Church and write using the Cyrillic alphabet. And even though Poland and all these countries have borscht and pierogies in common, Poland chose another road. But the question is why? Well, it's actually quite simple, for a few main reasons. Let's break it down. The turning point in Poland's history came in the year 966 AD when Duke Mieszko I received baptism along with his court and his household. This moment, remembered as the baptism of Poland, marked the formal entry of the Polish state into the family of all Christian nations. But it wasn't just a matter of personal faith or his theological leanings, it was also a big political chess move. The thing is, Mieszko had a choice between aligning with two great centers of Christianity, Rome in the west or Constantinople in the east. His Slavic neighbors to the east, the Russians, the Ukrainians, and Belarusians, were receiving the faith through Constantinople under the influence of the Byzantine missionaries of whom you've probably heard of, Saint Cyril and Methodius, and their disciples, who carried with them the Cyrillic script and the liturgy in Old Church Slavonic. But Mieszko, faced with this tough decision, turned to Rome and the Latin Rite. And the question is, why? Well, there are three main reasons. The first is that the choice was pretty strategic. Aligning with Rome meant drawing Poland closer to the Holy Roman Empire and to Western Europe's cultural, military, and political networks. Poland's main pressures in the 10th century came from pagan Germanic tribes and the rising Holy Roman Empire on its western borders, and so by aligning with Rome, Mieszko secured legitimacy and protection against the very empire that could have otherwise tried to conquer him. And at the same time, it shielded Poland from falling into orbit of Byzantium or Kievan Rus, whose influence would have probably swallowed its independence. In other words, he saw the Holy Roman Empire as a stronger force to be reckoned with than Byzantium, and so he chose his allies strategically and accordingly to that information.
I'm not even sorry.
And if we see how all of the eastern states were treated much later by Rus, do you think Poles were right to be so skeptical? I'll leave that up to you, let me know in the comments. Lastly, it comes down to geography. The real reason people keep asking why is Poland Slavic but not Orthodox is because of the outrageously broken American education system that can't be bothered to teach geography but has no problem teaching you that there are millions of genders. The thing is that Poland is not Eastern Europe in the way that people imagine. It's Central Europe. Look at a map. Poland sits right between Germany and Ukraine, closer to Rome and the Holy Roman Empire than to Constantinople. Its rivers, trade routes, and political alliances naturally flowed westward, not eastward. And when the critical moment came in 966, that geography really mattered. Poland turned to Rome because that was the center of gravity shaping its world. But sadly, while Mieszko's baptism in 966 tied Poland to Rome, it also unfortunately meant that centuries of tensions with the Orthodox world would ensue. Already in the 11th century, conflict was brewing. In 1018, Mieszko's son Bolesław the Brave marched in on Kiev itself, briefly installing his son-in-law on the Rus throne. And this was far more than dynastic ambition, it was the Catholic West pressing into Orthodox lands. After the Great Schism of 1054, these rivalries hardened. Latin missionaries pushed eastward, while Orthodox metropolitans resisted. The 12th and 13th centuries turned the borderlands into a spiritual tug-of-war. In Galicia, Volhynia, Orthodox princes ruled subjects increasingly tied by trade and law to Poland and and Hungary, Latin bishops planted sees in contested towns, and even as Orthodox monasteries held their ground and refused to move. The cultural clash could be seen in script itself. Poland wrote in the Latin alphabet while the Ruthenian neighbors wrote Cyrillic across the river. And then came the Mongol invasions in the 1240s, which shattered Kievan Rus. Poland escaped the worst of destruction, but the Mongol storm left the Orthodox world fragmented, and into that vacuum rose Muscovy, which began styling itself as the Third Rome. Poland suddenly faced an eastern neighbor that claimed spiritual supremacy over all Slavs, and by the 14th century, the tensions sharpened. King Casimir the Great annexed Red Ruthenia in the 1340s, bringing tens of thousands of Orthodox subjects under a Catholic crown. Latin cathedrals appeared in Lviv and Przemyśl, standing almost defiantly beside Orthodox churches. The climax came after the Polish-Lithuanian Union in 1386. The Grand Lithuanian Duke Jogaila's baptism created a Catholic powerhouse, which is now known as the Jagiellonian dynasty, that rivaled Moscow directly. And in the early 17th century, during Russia's time of troubles, Polish troops even captured the Kremlin. For a brief surreal moment, Poland installed Władysław Wasa as Tsar of Russia from 1610 to 1613. Imagine this, a Catholic prince from Poland elected to sit on a throne of Orthodoxy's holiest empire.
I'm a stud. I'm ballsy. I don't take no shit from anyone. I smoke my stogie anywhere I want. I don't have to find a hideout place like you.
And although the occupation eventually collapsed, it did symbolize just how deep the struggle between Catholic Poland and Orthodox Russia had become. By the 15th and into the 17th centuries, Poland stood as the bulwark of Catholicism in the East. It wasn't just another kingdom, it was the place where Gothic cathedrals cast their shadows across Orthodox plains, where Latin Mass bells rang within earshot of Slavic chants, where even Moscow itself briefly bowed to a Catholic Tsar. But here is the plot twist, because out of nowhere in the late 16th century, everything had shifted, including land borders. With the creation of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, Poland suddenly inherited millions of Orthodox subjects from Lithuania, Belarus, and Ukraine. Overnight, Catholic Poland wasn't just rubbing shoulders with Orthodoxy on its borders, it had Orthodoxy living right inside its house, and it had to find a way to make the brothers get along, and to find a way to make this work without a political conflict of interest. And then came the bombshell, the Union of Brest, or the Union of Brest, in 1596. Under pressure from living in a Catholic-ruled commonwealth, a group of Orthodox bishops from the lands of modern-day Ukraine and Belarus signed an agreement with Rome. They pledged loyalty to the Pope, but on one condition, that they would keep their icons, their divine liturgy of St. John Chrysostom, their married clergy, and their Byzantine spirituality. Rome accepted, and voila, the Ukrainian Catholic Church was born. For supporters of this mission, it was nothing less than a masterstroke of unity, a way to bring East and West together without erasing either's tradition. But for those who remained Eastern Orthodox, it was seen as an act of betrayal and treachery, and a sellout to Latin power that betrayed centuries of Orthodox identity. The result? Well, the Commonwealth became an example of unity in Christendom, showing that reunification between Catholics and Orthodox is possible. Whether or not you agree with the methods being used is a different question, but in fact it did show it is possible, where cathedrals and onion domes faced each other not only across borders but in the very same towns and villages. But through it all, Catholicism still ran the show. The kings were Catholic, the laws were Catholic, and the culture leaned west. The Union of Brest didn't make Poland Orthodox. It made Poland the one place where East and West had to wrestle it out side by side under the same crown. So why isn't Poland Orthodox? Well, it goes all the way back to that decisive choice in 966 AD, Mieszko's baptism into the Latin Rite. That single act bound Poland to Rome, and every century since has only reinforced it. From clashes with Kievan Rus and Muscovy to the Union of Brest, to standing firm against Orthodox Russia during the partitions and communism in the 20th century, Catholicism became more than a faith. It became the soul of the Polish nation and the thing that holds the country strong to this day. When Poland was carved off the map in the 18th and 19th centuries, the church carried its identity. Under Nazi occupation and later Soviet communist rule, Catholicism became defiance. And when the whole world needed a sign of that spirit, Poland gave us St. John Paul II, the Pope who helped topple communism. Culturally and theologically too, Poland was shaped by the West. The Latin Mass, scholastic reasoning, and papal authority tied it to Rome and not Constantinople. Geography sealed the choice. Poland was central to Europe. plugged into Western networks, and never an Eastern outpost. And standing at the very heart of that Catholic identity is Our Lady of Częstochowa, the Black Madonna, said to have been painted by St. Luke the Apostle himself. For centuries, her icon has been the rallying point of the Polish people, carried into battles, venerated in monasteries, and even invoked whenever Poland's survival was on the line, especially against the Swedish. But for Poles, she is not just Mary, but you have to remember she is the Queen of Poland. Today, Poland is still above 90% Catholic, with Orthodox and Greek Catholic minorities, but Catholicism remains the beating heart of the nation. And just like Poland, this channel also stands at the crossroad of East and West. My goal of Lungs of Faith is to bring Catholics, Orthodox, and even curious outsiders into one conversation, to look for unity where the world only sees division, especially in these crazy times where the world is fighting and persecuting Christians so much. But here's the thing, lately YouTube has not been pushing these videos on my channel the way it used to, and that's why your engagement matters so much. If you want to help this mission grow, the best way is simple. Like the video, drop a comment, and share it with friends, and don't forget to hit subscribe. Those actions are what tell the algorithm that this content is worth spreading. And if you want to go even further, you can support directly at buymeacoffee.com/lungsoffaith or check out the merch. Both are awesome ways to keep this project alive while showing that you're a part of it. If you enjoyed this video, here is a few videos that you should watch after this one.